Okay, we got another question coming in here. Tenant screening. Let's talk about it. So the question is, should you do the tenant screening yourself, or and then what if it's horrific? A disaster. What do you do? Okay, there is some perspective out there that says you should do the property management yourself. And then if it's a total disaster, then you hire a property manager, okay? There's the other perspective where you shouldn't do the property management yourself and you should just delegate it. So I've been on both sides of that, and I don't know what the right answer is. There is no right answer. I can share with you what I would do, but at the same time, I have been at this a couple decades. So when I was just starting out, I always wanted to save money. Now, I have more of a delegation, hire people mindset now, but I'm also in my 40s. I've also had a few hard lessons that I don't want to repeat. I have a little more disposable income that I did not have when I was in my 20s starting out. So there is no right or wrong answer on this. I just want to be clear. I think, again, it goes back to your personality, who you are. There's these 4 personality animals that Ian and I, who you will get to know on this channel, he and I came up with, like, we took about 100 of our investors and we looked at their case studies, and we looked at their personalities and the outcomes and how they were to work with and what worked and what didn't. And we identified them in kind of 4 categories of personality types, and then we labeled them with animal names. And so one of the labels was called a lone wolf, and you can probably just figure out what that means from context clues, honestly. I was a lone wolf when I started out. We have a lone wolf, fox, basically a lone wolf, a sly fox, an agreeable goldfish, and a whale. I'm more of a whale now, but I was, and what we define it as a whale is someone that made $1 million or more, or is worth $1 million or more, okay? Through rental property investing. We're not even dealing with the other assets on their balance sheets. But so when I started out, I was more of a lone wolf because I didn't have any money, and I was building, and well, it's not true. I guess I had money, but I just had a different mindset. I didn't know how to delegate. I didn't understand the value other people brought in. I thought I could just figure it out and just Google it, and ask someone, and it was just going to be easy. I didn't understand the business dealing with people. I didn't know who I was as a leader. I didn't have boundaries. I didn't know what I didn't know. That's the best way to summarize it. Wouldn't you agree? Have you ever been in that situation? I'm pretty much in that situation every day. I'm in that situation in this very moment on this YouTube channel, doing whatever this is. I am in that moment right now. I don't know what I don't know. Okay. I've learned, more, and I can apply those things and ideals to this, but I still don't know what I'm really getting into, nonetheless. So I think you got to define if you're a lone wolf or you're not a lone wolf. And if you are, it's okay. That's not a bad thing. It's just where you're at. And I think it's good to be aware of that. And so lone wolves just want to kind of do everything on their own. They think they kind of know it all. They could be a little hard to work with. They're kind of perfectionistic, sort of. They don't really value people that much. They usually don't value people for what they pay them. They kind of always think there wasn't enough done, or you could have done a better job. Maybe that's true in some cases, but I was definitely a lone wolf for sure early on. And even as I was looking at my other lone wolves, in my career, it brought up the lone wolfness in me in a way. Again, I don't want to be a lone wolf anymore. I like to delegate and really invest. I call it an investment, not an expense, in other people to do their jobs really well. I learned that from mentors over the years because that was not a natural thing for me. But I had more of a scarcity mind, and now I have more of an abundant mind, and I really like living in abundance a lot better than I ever did living in scarcity. But anyway, nonetheless, I don't know what the right answer is. So I'm just gonna say, if you start tenant screening, this is what you're gonna need to do. You're gonna need to take an application, and you can probably get the application from your, I don't know, whatever network you're connected to, if it's Bigger Pockets, or it might even be online in your local MLS area. Maybe it is. I'm sure you can find an application somewhere. But you need to get, the application obviously needs to say who they are, what their social security and their date of birth is, because that's how you're going to run the credit. You have to run credit. If you don't have a way to do this, and if you want to run credit, there's ways to do that. You can totally Google that online. When we were in property management, when I had that company, which I sold, and I don't even manage my own properties anymore, if that tells you. And I have 2 very high level designations that took me a year to get, and very few people even have these designations. Anyway, I would be the one to manage property because I know about it, but that's how much I didn't want to do it. Okay. So anyway, but nonetheless, there's a company called Buildium, and BUILDIUM. You can set up an account through them, and you can run credit through them and process applications and even take the payments because people need to pay you. And you don't want to go around collecting cash and money orders and checks. You want to make that as digital as possible just to make it more automated and easy. In 2024, you should definitely do that. Be automated and have a system and process and build one as soon as you can. Nonetheless, if you take a check the first few times, so be it. But your goal would be to work toward the process if you're going to manage it yourself. Your property manager already has the process set up. So if you choose to do it, you're going to learn what the value is in having a process that's already set up and automated. Maybe that is fun to you. Maybe it's not. It was always tedious to me, but you might enjoy it. So you'll have to decide who you are and what gets you up in the morning. If it excites you, move toward it. If it's daunting, move away from it. That's your gauge. So there's not a right or wrong answer, but you need to understand how you feel about it. And you don't want to get burnt out, because when you burn out, you're good to nobody. You're no good to nobody. Okay. And that's just the truth. So that's what you don't want to do no matter what. But anyway, so if you're going to need to run the credit, and you're going to need to read the credit. Read it. It might take you 30 minutes to read a full credit report, but you're going to need to read it. Usually you get summary reports. And then you're going to need to collect a copy of their driver's license to make sure the person filling out the application is who that person actually is. And then you're going to need to collect proof of their income. You need to get them to give you paycheck stubs the last 2 if they have it. The last 2 months if they have it. If they don't have it, you need to get it, and you need to make sure they get it. You need to put that back on them to get, okay? And then if they don't have that and they're self-employed, you need to see bank statements. You need to see the last 2 or 3 months of bank statements. Maybe you need to see the last 6 months of bank statements. You can decide what that is, because you need to see the consistent income coming in. If they can't provide that, you need to see a savings account. And they need to have money in that savings account. Like, if they don't have good income coming in, they need to have at least 6 months in that of rent in that savings account. If the rent's $2,000, that's $2,000 times 6. That's $24,000 needs to be in that savings account. If it's $22,900, is that close enough? Probably. You get to make the call on that. These are just guidelines, okay? And then you need to understand the terms that they want. Usually the application will state that. What's the security deposit that they want to put down? Usually it's 1 month rent, unless there's severe credit problems or eviction or something weird or out of the ordinary. Then you would take a double deposit, which would be 2 times the rent amount. So $2,000 rent times 2, $4,000 a month for the security deposit would be a double. I've taken triple deposits. One time I had this guy that had like 6 DUIs. They were from years ago, but hey, that's a red flag. So we took a triple deposit and it ended up being okay. But hey, that's a risk. And then you want to run all that, and you want to do it, and you want to look at it, and then you also want to get the verification of rent from the current place they're renting. You need to see at least 2 years of rental history, but we only always verify the current place they're living in, or if they moved in with like their in-laws and they don't have rent, whatever the last place is that they came from. Now, I will say you're going to have to be prepared, and I'll talk about this a little more on the next video, but or I don't know if it's going to be the next video. Another video that I'm going to be doing soon is a little more about this. But I will say, when you decide to lease out your own property, you have to be prepared, because the scammers know that. They know that when you don't have a professional, they will try to work with you because they know you don't probably know what you're doing. No offense, but I mean, how could that be offensive? If you've never leased a property out, do you think you really know what you're doing? I mean, I would argue you don't, because you can't read enough books that's going to prepare you for this. You can't have enough YouTube videos that's going to prepare you for this. The only thing that's going to prepare you for this is you just have to do it, and you have to learn and get back up, dust your knees and get up and keep going and keep going and keep going and learn and try again and improve. But yeah, you need to be prepared that you're going to get some folks that this is not their first rodeo to use a fake application, or, which I know that sounds silly, how can you use a fake application? But I'm telling you, you ever been scammed? They're good at it. They're good at it. You ever had an email, that you clicked on that you didn't mean to? You ever got one of those text messages? I got one today that used my name. I was, I thought it was an old client, but then I'm like, well, they didn't say who they were, and I don't have their contact saved, so I'm going to just not reply. Report it to junk. So you have to be prepared for that. This is a risky business because you're dealing with dwellings. You're dealing with homesteads and houses. This is like one of Maslow's 3 hierarchical needs, right? So yeah, you have to be prepared that you're dealing with something that is important here. You're not selling an ice cream cone. This isn't a one-time event. This is this isn't even a transaction. This is a relationship. So you want to make sure you are going into a relationship with someone that you can validate and verify. And it's just important. That's all I can say. So even if you hire a property manager and a leasing agent, that's what the leasing agent's job is. And they have a great job. There's 2 components to that. There's a leasing agent and a property manager. And I'll get into that also in the next video, is what their roles are. But you just want to be aware that they have unique, well, a lot of times the leasing agent is the property manager, not all the time, but a lot of times. And a great place to find leasing agents and property managers across the country is on a website called National Association of Property Managers. NARPM is the acronym. That's a great tool because those people are in this business all day, every day. They're specialized, they're niched out. That's what they do. And they do residential property. They also, there's commercial ones too, but you would focus on the residential. And by the way, what a residential is like, 1 to 4 units, a single family home, a condo, a townhome, a duplex, a triplex, a quadplex. 5 units or more is when you start kind of getting into small apartments, but still residential property managers do those too. I know some that, one of them I know has like a 16 unit little apartment. That's not as common because that's small multifamily, but it's possible. Okay. You just want to qualify them well and ask the right questions and make sure they're a fit for you. The goal is find the right people. The right people are key to everybody's success in this business, in my opinion. So I hope this helps, and Yeah, it's not a straight answer, but to be honest, I don't think any of these are going to be straight answers because I'm not here to convince you of anything. And honestly, they take a little longer to answer these questions because there are a lot of variables. And honestly, I hope this helps you come to a conclusion by the time you're done with these videos. That's my hope, and not let it linger. At the end of the day, you just got to make a decision and move forward. You cannot get stuck in analysis paralysis over all of these questions because you will never move forward, and that is a tragedy. Because the key to getting ahead is getting started. Mark Twain knew that well. And by God's grace, he shared that knowledge with the rest of the world well past his demise of life, and it lives on in his legacy. So just remember, always use this information so you can make a decision and move forward. Hope this helps. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.